So let's have a think about how to paint holly. First of all, the thing to do is to talk about the colour of the leaves, of course, and the berries. Obviously, holly, this is a holly sprig that I've just picked in the garden, and you can see that the leaves are a nice dark green, and these berries are not yet completely red because this one's pretty nearly red, but they're still slightly greenish because it's only September as I'm filming this. But later on in the, let me move that out of the way for a minute so you can see the colour a bit better and the shape. Later on in the year, they'll be absolutely bright red, as you know, and that's the way holly is. Poor thing. Anyway, so let's have a look at what I've got here. You've got a choice when it comes to painting something with green leaves. You can either use ready-mix greens, such as hooker's green. These are all colours that I use from time to time. Olive green, this is Windsor green, this is sap green, and this is Viridian. These are all good greens, but the thing is, if you use these and you want your painting to look natural, the colours, that is, and that's not always the case, because if you're doing something which is kind of whimsical, you won't necessarily want to be bothered with it looking natural. But if you do, then these colours are not going to cut it, with perhaps the exception of olive green, because in order for them to look natural, you need to attenuate them, modify them a little bit with a yellow, a red, or a blue. And which one you use is entirely up to you. But and all the yellows and reds and blues will change these greens and turn them into things that are more natural. And honestly, there's only one way to discover how well that will work for you, and that is to practice. So that's something that we can talk about in more length another day, because at the moment what I'm going to do is not use those greens. I might do another painting with holly later on using greens, but today I feel like doing it using blue. So I've got here phthalo blue, which is this one, in this little space here. That's what that looks like. It's a nice turquoise, very, very deep turquoise blue, I would say. The one I've got here is Dela Rowney, but everybody makes them. All these colours, by the way, they're all in the Kuretake set as well, in the little pans. So if you haven't got tubes, don't worry, you can use the pans. And in your pan sets, the ones from Paul Rubens or Meaden and all the rest of them, they've all got all these greens and these colours I'm going to use today. The second thing I'm going to use is burnt sienna, and that's a kind of red. You know, we call it brown, and it is a kind of brown, but it's also on the red side. And if I just pull a little bit of it out there, you can see you can easily consider that to be orange, can't you? So it's a red, basically. And then the other thing we've got is quinacridone gold, which is a yellow. When it's on, when it comes out of the tube, it looks brown like this, but it's not. It's much more yellow. And that mixed together with phthalo blue, or this burnt sienna mixed together with phthalo blue, is going to take you a long way towards green. And then the other colour I'm going to be using to modify these colours is black, which is obviously black here. And black and yellow makes green. So whenever you mix a green up and you add a little bit of black, you're going to get a nice dark green like that, which is not bad for holly. Now, I'm not going to try to mix this colour exactly, because I don't know about you, but I'm not that keen on the colour of real holly. So when I paint holly, I just let the greens happen, and whatever I produce, I call that fine, because it generally is. So I'm going to put this here, and that's my paints that I'm going to use today. And then I'm going to be painting. This is a sketch pad from Viviva, and it's, what is it? It is quite nice, and I'm going to dedicate it to my Christmas sketches. So I'm just going to write on the front of it, hopefully, using a white pen, which when I get it to work, I'll show you. The Artistro Extra Fine Tip Water-Based Ink, Shake, Press and Draw. Shake. rattle and roll. Okay, and I'm going to write on here Christmas sketches. Whoops. There we go. 2023. So I'll know what that's all about. So let me just open this up. And let's have a go at what we're doing here. This is one of my brushes, the ones that are going to be on sale at the end of October, beginning of November from Craftamo. And this is a number 9, and it's a round, and it's a nice nylon brush with a very good point. And it's I opted for slightly longer hairs on this brush than the average, because I wanted just to do something different. It's not a huge difference, but it is a difference. I just wanted to do something a little bit different for these brushes, so that there's a good reason to buy them. So let's try mixing up some greens. So we'll go into the phthalo blue to start with, and I'll mix a little bit of quinacridone gold and a tiny bit of black, and maybe a bit of burnt sienna to give us a nice green. And then I'm going to just literally, I'm going to show you 2 different ways of doing holly, both involving a pen. And first way is to paint first, just paint roughly the shape. Holly leaves have a various numbers of points on them. If you look at these ones here, some of them have got 5 down the side, some of them only got 3. And so they do vary. So that's the way to draw a holly leaf, like that. And just keep it really loose, because that's what we do, isn't it? Loose, loosey-goosey. And this is a sketch. This is practice. This is just playing around. This is me being loose, and so on and so forth. So we'll put in 3 like that. And if you want to scratch in the veins before it dries, you can do that with a stick or one of these pens. And just pull it back. When it's still very wet, you'll get a darker line. When it's nearly dry, or if you didn't put the paint on very thick, you get a different kind of line. So sometimes they're light and sometimes they're dark. So having done that, I'm going to then just find some cadmium red, which is this. You could use alizarin crimson, but I'm going to use cadmium red for the minute. And we'll just put in some berries, make them nice and red, like that. Allow them to bleed a little bit if you want. No harm in that. And then we could pick up a little bit of black, mix it with the burnt sienna to make the stem for the holly, just a rough line like that. You can also use this kind of colour to put more shadow on the leaf if you want. Just brushing in a little bit of shadow into there. But then what I'll do is I'll let that dry, and then I'll do some pen work on it. And then another way of doing a similar thing, but the other way around, so to speak, is to draw your leaves first. So you would come in with a pen. In some ways, I prefer doing it with the drawing first, but you don't have to. You can draw the berries if you want, or you can leave those until afterwards. Let's put a stalk there and put a few more leaves here, and maybe we'll take this stalk up here and put one off to the side like that. And we need some berries up here. I will put these sketches for you available on the website, free of charge to download. So let's pick up a little bit more green. Any mixture of green, you see you're going to get lots and lots of different greens from these few colours. The blue, the quinacridone gold, and the burnt sienna. And just, you know, vary your shades, and you can make some of them really dark. Just looks more interesting that way. I'm not going to claim that it's more realistic, but definitely more interesting. And you can, if you find you've got one colour that you really like that one, for example, then just do more of them in the colour that you really like. Don't worry about staying within the lines. And let's do the berries. You could use alizarin crimson as well for the berries if you want, which is a much redder red. This is more of a kind of orangey red, isn't it? But alizarin is bluer, and you might like, I do, that colour, although it's much less realistic, because when these are bright red, they really are bright red. Okay, and then next thing is probably to try to scratch in some veins like that. Now it's gone a bit dry there, so we'll have to do the lines with a pen. But that's okay, because we like using the pen, don't we? I'm coming up here and put the shape around these berries, which we hadn't drawn before we started. And then we can go back and do the outside edges. You could do this with a dip pen as well if you wanted to. You don't have to use this is a Tombow Fudenasuke brush pen. So there we are, there are some holly leaves, and you can carry on, you know, you don't need to stop there if you don't want to. You can carry on and do more. We could have another one up here. Let's put lots of sort of any kind of shade of green in. Put a few more berries. Okay, and perhaps a little bit of black and a little bit of brown for the stalk. Give it a bit more strength. And before we know where we are, we have a kind of abstract sort of. I think I need a couple more berries on there, or another leaf, perhaps another leaf. And now we have to let it dry and see what we've got when it is dry. So there we are, that's dry now, and I've kind of gone over it a little bit more with the pen, just emphasizing some of the darks, and I've added 1 or 2 extra leaves over and above what was there just before to give it a little bit more depth, so they're kind of in the distance sort of thing. Some of them are facing one way, some of them facing another way, so it's all quite lively and so on and so forth. Don't forget, this is a sketch, and you can learn from this. And I mean, my next step here would be to take what I like about what I've done and build that into a design for a Christmas card, which would probably also have a robin or some other kind of bird on it, or something like that, or maybe even just some holly with some snow or some mistletoe or ivy, or, you know, once you've got holly under your belt and you know what you're doing, hello Oriel, then you can use that in all sorts of different ways in your paintings. Do you want to come and say hello? Hello, Oriel. He's a good boy. Oriel. Yes. He is easily the most vocal of our cats. You're always talking, aren't you? Yes. You're a Spanish cat, aren't you? You're the only one who walks all over my paintings as well. Where are you going? Don't you stand in that paint.